Welcome, students. We're looking at systems of linear inequalities today. What we're going to do is we're going to graph each of these inequalities, just graph them independently, and then this is where we're going to shade wherever the inequality holds true, and where it is not true, we won't shade. So let's just get started. Let's look at this guy first, right here. So if I'm going to graph him, I'm going to look at the slope, m equals 1/2, and the y-intercept, which is 3. The y-intercept is 3. I'll draw a dot. The slope is 1/2, so that means rise 1, run 2, rise 1, run 2. So these are my points. This is a strictly less than, so instead of drawing a solid line, I am going to draw a dashed line. Bump, 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 bump. And this is what he looks like. Now, I want all those points that are less than this line, this dashed line. You can think of it as I want all those y's that are less than this line. So if I look at this as the y and I look at less than, I can say, well, what that means is to shade this bottom side. Or you can choose another way, which is to choose a test point. And the test point is going to rely on the fact that the line is the boundary, that's where it equals. On one side of the line, the top side, it will either be greater than or less than, but not both. And on the other side of the line, say the bottom side, it will either be greater than or less than, but not both. Or you can look at this equation, say I want the y values that are less than that line, so you would know that you would shade beneath. But let's look at the test point option here. So let's look at that point 0, 0. At 0, 0, I have 0 less than 1/2 times 0 plus 3. Is 0 less than 3? It is. So that means I know that these points all in here, it should be shaded. Let's look at the next line. Y is greater than or equal to 1/2, so m equals 1/2. And in this case, the slope b, the y-intercept b is -2. The slope was 1/2, so I'm going to write 1/2. And then I'm going to rise 1, run 2, rise 1, run 2. This line will be solid because it is greater than or equal to. So if there's an equal to mark in there, draw a solid line. If there's not one, you don't. I want all of those values that are greater, on the y values that are greater than this line. So that means I'm going to want this section shaded. My answer then is this middle section. So I'll mark this middle section in yellow, and this is my answer. My answer is all of these values, or where they're both shaded with the dashed line on top and the solid line on bottom. So we call this our solution set. So let's look at another one. All right, let's look at a system where we have 3 different inequalities, and we're going to have to see where all 3 are shaded at the same time. And I'm going to color code them to make it easier on myself. So I'm going to look at where x minus 2y equals 4, and then I'll worry about shading it in just a minute. So I need to graph this. I know that I have a point, let's see, when x is, just by points since it's not y equals, if x is 0, then y would be what, -2. If y is 0, plug in y is 0, then x is 4. Just doing that computation. Now let me plot these points. If x is 0, y is -2. If x is 4, y is 0. Looks like I will need a solid line through these points. All right, now I need to decide I'm going to shade the top or bottom. It's not in a pretty form, so I'll just use the test point method. So I'm going to test that point at 0, 0, 0, 0. Let's see if it works. If the point 0, 0 works, I'm going to shade this whole top side. If it doesn't work, I'll shade the bottom side. So if x is 0 minus 2 times 0, is that less than or equal to 4? Is 0 less than or equal to 4? It is. That means I'm going to shade this whole top section. I'm not going to shade it too heavy because I know I'm not going to need that whole area. So let's look next at x plus y less than or equal to 4. Make a little chart, do a couple of points. If x is 0, y is 4. If y is 0, x is 4. I like this one. So I've got this point, and I have this point. So I will draw a, looks like a solid line, because we have the equal to in there. Now, I'll need to decide I'm going to shade this side or this side. And how I'll do that is with a test point. So I'll say at 0, 0, what do we have? 0 plus 0, is that less than or equal to 4? 0 is less than or equal to 4, so that means that this point is included. So it looks like I'll be shading this section here. Now I can go ahead and put a line over on this side, but it doesn't matter because I'm looking for the place where all three are shaded, so all of these points they don't matter to me. I don't even want to shade that stuff there. All right, so let's now look at x is greater than or equal to -1. So I'm just going to look at where x is equal to -1. Draw that line. That's going to be, and it's going to be a solid, so it's going to be straight up and down. Here's where x is equal to -1. Now I need to decide, do I shade to the left of that or to the right of that? So I'll choose a test point. I'm going to choose 0, 0 again. Makes it easy. At 0, 0, what do I have? Is 0 less than or equal to -1? Sorry, less than, greater than. Copied down the right symbol. Is 0 greater than or equal to -1? Yes, it is. So this whole side gets shaded. Of course, those points don't matter. What really matters are these points. So let me get a new color to show where my solution set is. Oops, at my solution set where all three. Oops, I want this. True, true. This is my solution set. Everything in this cool little triangle. Okay, because that's where all three are shaded. Okay, let's look at one of these break-even and cost problems here. First, you have to kind of know what this means. When they say fixed cost, they mean that this is what it's going to cost you no matter what. So this is kind of like your startup cost. This is what it's going to cost you to make each item. So cost to make each, oops, yeah, each item. If X is your number of items, then your cost equation is going to look like C of X equals 50,000 plus 24X. That's what it'll cost you to make each item. This price is what you're going to get. So it is your revenue. Your revenue is going to be 44 times however many items you sell. So this is what you get. We'll call it the cost to buy item. Kind of what that's your golden there. But it's going to cost you a lot to actually break even. Now the break even is going to be when cost equals revenue. You got to make a few of these, and actually not just make them, you got to sell a bunch in order to break even. So when cost equals revenue, or 50,000 plus 24x equals 44x, that's when you know that you've made nothing for all of your trouble, But everything after that is pure profit. So if I subtract 24 from both sides, I have 50,000 equals, so I'm subtracting 24x, subtract 24x, that would be 20 x's. Divide both sides by 20, you would get x equals 2,500 items. That's your break-even point. After you've sold 2,500 items, from then on, all you got is profit. So let's see what this looks like on a graph. We'll plot cost in this blue, and then we'll plot revenue in like this pink. So revenue is, well, you make nothing if you don't sell anything. But if you sell, like, let's just make a dot over here on 2,500. So if I sold 2,500, let me see where that dot would be. Revenue at 2,500 equals 44 times 2,500. So let's see what that equals. Let me get out our handy dandy calculator here. And I want 44 times 2,500, and that is 110,000. Okay, so that equals 110,000. So at 2,500, I go up to 110. There's 100. There's 120, so 110 should be right here. And I'm going to make that line. I'll make that line like so. I'll plot me a point. I'm going to go right through there. And there's where I'm at. So let's do this for cost, and we'll make that one in this. Oops, that one made it in blue. Actually wanted that line in purple, but anyway. Okay, so I'll do this one in pink. Oh, that there is purple. Okay, good. So still in pink, good. Okay, so now let me do my cost. Let's do it in pink. So at my cost equation, looks like this. It's 50,000 plus 24x. So let's try to find a couple of points. If x is 0, y is 50,000, so there's 40, so that would be 50. So there's 1 point. That's an easy point. Let's do 3,500. So let's do, what is the cost at 3,500? So I can get that point, and that's just going to be 50,000 plus 24 times 3,500. Let's see what that equals. Get out my calculator. Let's clear that out of there. And I need 24 times 3,500 equals, add to that 51, 2, 3 equals, so 134,000. So let me get that down. So that equals 134,000. Okay, so at 3,500, I should be at 100 and not 140, a little less than that. Let's see, that's 120, so that's 130, so it should be really close, like right in there. All right, so let's make a line from right through that point. Oh, that looks really good, doesn't it? Okay, so now what we have is, let's do this in this blue. So this pink one is my cost. This is revenue. If I sell less than, oh, look how it crossed right there at 2,500. Isn't that sweet? Because that's our break-even point. That's when cost equals revenue, of course. So anything in from here to here, we lose money. Anything here on up, this is our profit. All right, lovely. Now, if you have any question on this, be sure and send me an email. Fun. Y'all have a wonderful day.